Welcome to the HuPerson podcast, a deep dive into how a new way of knowing is developing holistic, innovative leaders at all levels of the organization and changing the way business does business. I'm your host, James Tuzniau, and a big shout out to Lindsay Sterling for our highly evocative theme music, Between Twilight. Hi, Jill. Hi, Shelley. Hi, Daniel. Welcome. Welcome, and thank you for coming. I'd like to ask you about the HuPerson operating system. What's inspiring you to tell the business community, to share with the business community, to invite the business community to learn more about the HuPerson operating system? Why now?
Well, there's a vision of possibility that business could be done differently. There's pretty obviously problems in the world that have been a consequence of the manner in which some businesses have done the way they've gone about their business. And we're saying that if we did business in a way that was less about figuring things out and more about being present to the call of the future that wants to happen, we'd be going about the manner in which we're doing business differently. And that has been the inspiration. Why would we be working with business? Business has a lot to do with how things are going in the world. We have transnational corporations that, for the nature of them being transnational corporations, that seem to be above the law of individual companies, individual countries in some cases. They seem to transcend countries in the way of their influence and finances. So if it's really business that largely runs the world these days, then that might be the place to address changing the way the business of conducting the business of the planet could be altered and changed. So that would be one of the main sources of inspiration and motivation for sharing the HuPerson operating system for me.
I would say that is what brought us together in this, exactly what Daniel just said. You know, if you look at what Richard Branson just did or what Elon Musk is up to, they're headed into space in ways that the government hasn't been able to mobilize. We're also needing a new way of knowing, a new way of leading life on this planet forward. That's why we've chosen business. And at the heart of that is a living system that's in trouble right now. Business, government has been part of why we're in trouble. Human structures of mind and habits that have arisen from that, like we consume 1.5 planets every year. We need a different way of knowing and coming together in the world. And we thought that business would be the place where most of us spend our time, the thing that seems to have the most level of innovation as well as getting things done, like Daniel was pointing to. And without there being a different way to do business, we as human beings struggling for the words on this one. The old ways of us being inspired and coming together have been, well, as a nation, I'm patriotic, or as a religion, I'm devoted, as a family or a tribe, I will take care of my own. And while all of those things are great, it also has divided us. And we're in a time in our evolution together where we must come together, and we think changing the way business does business and helping human beings step into a new way of knowing, new structures of mind can actually help us fundamentally move ourselves forward as whole human beings in a whole life, taking care of a whole ecosystem.
For me, it's about choosing love. It's about the world in which we want to live into. For me, it's about individuals gaining access to freedom beyond our habitual ways of being and doing. You know, that we were born into families and communities where we were downloaded with the way to think and the way to dress and the way to do and be. And it works because we feel that we belong. And this work for me is really about choosing to manifest the world in which we want to live into, which means we have to free ourselves up from all of those habitual ways of doing, being, thinking that were just shaped and downloaded into us. We have less freedom than we realize because we don't know that we don't know. We're not aware of those habitual ways of being and doing. In business, if we can help people wake up to that we operate from those places versus from true freedom to choose and be, and we're connected because we belong, because we just do. We're all part of the human race, and we can be creative and respond creatively, collectively together, and starts to have me be in a place of imagining a world in which I want to live into and creatively build together, as Jill was saying, to create that ecosystem and infrastructures that really sustain and work for us all, and not just us as human beings, but for us in relationship to our planet and with all of the living beings, life itself. The thing is, it's ripe. It's time, because the way that we have been doing it, running from our habitual ways of being, work. But now with the speed with which things are moving, our habitual ways don't work anymore. We're processing so much more. Things are moving so fast, we can't keep up. That's why the new operating system, because our brains literally cannot process as quickly as it needs to with the amount of data coming at us. So this time we've been able to get away with it, but at this time we can't anymore. And so people are going to fall more into their habitual ways of being because they're going to hang on to them even harder, stronger, and do them more. Only it's going to lead them into more anxiety, more pain, more isolation. And there's freedom just waiting for us to step into. But we have to learn the skills and abilities and practice the ways of being that are beyond our habitual ways of knowing, doing, being. You know, there's universes upon universes we haven't tapped into yet. And the new operating system allows us to begin the practices to do that. And, you know, little by little, step by step, the more we begin to engage in that collectively together, we can work through things faster. We are tapped into all of the intelligence that's out there so that we can have that experience of connection and belonging at a whole different level. So for me, it's deeply on the personal level, but the way to move it in the world is through business. It can happen faster.
If we could be in a conversation of, well, there was that 400 years of the rise of the rational structure of mind, and there is this manner in which we approach business that we would call traditional. There's a moving influx of postmodern. And if we can be present to how these ways we've done business and the structures of mind we've brought to the way we do business, if we can be present to that, and then look at when we talk about, and there's a conversation about business 4.0 moving to the imaginal 5.0 way of doing business, if we can be present to what was it previously as an operating system, what's the operating system that we're invited to in the way of a kind of escalator moving to a more useful structure of mind now for the manner in which we do business, then we can be in a conversation about how to skillfully, elegantly, meaningfully up-level the manner in which we're doing it. And that was the call for the HuPerson operating system.
Mm-hmm. We can help move large-scale change with this operating system in business. You know, post-pandemic, we are seeing significant labor shortages, at least here in the United States. I'm not quite sure around the world what's happening. We are seeing supply chain disruptions and interruptions, and it's all happening at once. A couple days ago, there was a sign up on the Burger King reader board. This was in national news. I don't know what location that Burger King was in, but it literally said on the board, "We quit." the entire staff of that restaurant left the letter of resignation up on the reader board. What that says to me is people are tired of the way we've done business in the past. Like Daniel's pointing to the 400 years of the rise of the rational achiever. It has produced some great progress. And now it's truly impacting the quality of our living together. And you are seeing this younger generation basically say, no, thank you. We literally can't get enough people hired. We're having to literally close the restaurants because we cannot keep people hired. I think that's pointing to something about what people are saying, not just about the company, but about how we're doing business in the world. It cannot be cogs in a wheel anymore. So as we're making this transition from what Daniel was pointing to, as we make this transition from business 4.0 to business 5.0, people are saying it's got to be much more humane and much more possible for there to be what the level of meaning and purpose that people really are asking for today, a whole new level of consciousness. This operating system is really about how you do that and how you do that in a way that you can easily step into flow. That's a whole nother conversation about high performance.
It really does sound like this operating system will be good for business. It will be good for business. It'd be good for the bottom line. It would be good for innovation, implementation. It would be good for the employees. It would be good for the customers. Like, to actually get into this operating system, it really would be good for business.
You could say that the HuPerson operating system is good medicine for business.
I like that. I really like that. You know, we've been looking at what's the art of the impossible. Daniel was sharing that with me. And so I've been diving into it, as well as the one thing, Daniel. And they've done an enormous amount of research about flow, and being in a state of flow, which is what this operating system can help business, is the medicine that business needs right now. They're calling flow, being in a flow state, as the source code for well-being and happiness. They're seeing 500% increases in productivity when people are in a state of flow. They're seeing 230% increases in learning. And they're seeing creativity being able to be expanded by being able to truly access this state of flow. The HuPerson operating system naturally, if you really follow and take it on, naturally moves you into those arenas. And then how you live that and how you become that is just a part of what it means to embody or install a new operating system or a new way of knowing and working. And that's what we're really truly interested in, is being good medicine for what business needs right now and what people in business need right now.
A kind of holistic, organic medicine remedy for business as an alternative, for instance, to the microdosing that some executives are doing as an artificial way to get to that flow. So it's a natural, organic, if you will, remedy for business.
And completely regenerative.
Yes, non-polluting.
I think there's another thing to actually say about something that you said, Shelley, which was our brains can't take the amount of information that's coming at us. I would say the brain that we've developed in 4.0 business is unable to take that in. Part of what the HuPerson operating system does is begin to reshape and train the brain in a higher, brand new way, so that a person can receive all kinds of incoming without it being overwhelming or panicky, anxiety laden or panic driven. And I think you were pointing to in what you said that coming from those historical places, those places where we know how to do what we do from the past, that brain can't really deal with it. And so what we've been seeing is that people need more awareness, more consciousness, learning how to step into flow states. And this operating system as a way to not just do that, but to be able to operate in flow far beyond that is why we think business is the place to do it.
One of the ways you could designate what you're talking about is that when we say that brain isn't able to, or this brain could, it's the same brain, it's the operating system. So when we say the rise of rational, linear, logical, sequenced, quote unquote, rational achiever structure of mind, that's an operating system and a structure of mind. There's in spiral dynamics language, you could say that there's a tribal and a concrete literal structure of mind, and that's an operating system. And then there's the rational and plural. So we could say these cultural memes that determine an operating system for a structure of mind. When we say that brain with that operating system from that structure of mind isn't up to it, that's true. And the same brain up level to a different structure of mind finds it easily accessible in a flow that's natural and uplifting, actually. So it's the same brain. It's the operating system for the structure of mind, in the same way that you could have a computer and you could have one operating system and it could function in a limited way, and you could up level that to a different operating system and it would be better. And then that's this evolution of what we call operating systems for computers. We up level them and they can do more with less, takes less life force, fewer fans are required to cool it off because it's operating more effectively. It does more with less. And so this up leveling of structure of mind allows us to be able to be present to our world in a way that isn't overwhelming and is uplifting. So the same brain, different operating systems. And that's why we call the HuPerson project, the way we're doing it, we're calling it an operating system, because it's taking the same brain and giving it a more elegant operating system that does produce flow naturally and is present to the future that wants to happen.
Yeah, I see it as the operator gets brain at a different level structure of mind to navigate life with. The operator, like in the present, being able to operate and up level a computer, put the operator sees that a new system is required in a computer, and the operator creates the upgrade and does the upgrade so that the computer evolves to a different level of processing. So the I that's more than our brain, but gets to have a brain and use a brain to be able to manifest in the world with. From what structure of mind are we manifesting?
And then the manner in which we do business will be designated by that structure of mind we're bringing to it.
Yeah.
So the purpose of the HuPerson project is to say, well, business needs to happen. It's needed in the world and it can do good things. And so then what's the structure of mind we're bringing to it?
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the HuPerson podcast. If you are new to the podcast, please head over to our website, thehupersonproject.com, where you can subscribe to the podcast, learn more about the project, or connect with our team. You can also reach us at hello@thehupersonproject.com. If you think of someone who will benefit from listening to this podcast, please do share it with them. Thank you again, and see you on the next episode of the HuPerson podcast.